every team in Asana has a number of projects in it, and projects are groups of related tasks. So think of things like creating a new website or launching a new product or planning an event. All these types of activities are examples of projects because they require multiple steps or multiple tasks to get them completed. So I want to show you how to create a project and then some of the different settings of how to control and kind of modify your project. So to create a new project, I think the easiest way is to go in, hover over the team that you want to create a project under. So I'm going to go to demo team, and then right next to where it says projects, there's a little plus button. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to give a project a new name. So I'm going to say something like plan, or let's call it the 2018 National Conference. We got a big event that we need to plan. Next, you'll see there's a description. And when you click on that, it gives you a little space to add a description. Now, what I like to think of the description as being your high-level goals and the metrics for what the win is. In other words, how do you know if you're successful? What is that win? Whatever that is, put that in the description. So I'm gonna write metrics, and then I'm gonna say something like 1,200 attendees and 98% satisfaction on post-event survey. Okay, that's a pretty good description, I think, for, and then that's just metrics, but maybe you'd want to put some other kind of information in the description. So maybe it has a theme, and so I might put something like theme, bigger, faster, stronger, or something like that. Sounds like a sales conference, right? Okay. Then you're going to see you can create it in which team, which we already picked the demo team. And then it'll ask you what privacy settings do you want. So you can create something that's public to everyone in that team. That would be the first option, and that's what's selected by default. You could also select something that is private to a subset of people. So maybe I only want me and a few teammates to be able to see this project. Then I would pick the middle one. Some cases you want something to be private just to you. And I think everyone should have one private project that they can stash tasks that they aren't interested in other people seeing, or that just they only have to do with you. For example, if you have to fill out a timesheet every week, no one else needs to see that task. They don't need to collaborate on that. That's just for you. That would be an example of a task that would fit really well in a private project. But for this one, I'm just going to go back up here to what was default so that everyone in the team can see it. And I'm going to click Create Project. Now, as soon as I see it, you can see here on the right-hand side that information that I put, right? So we got the theme, we have the metrics. That's going to show up right there on the right-hand side, or whenever I click on that project, 2018 National Conference. Now, when you hover over the right-hand side, you see there's a little more button. It's these three dots. And when you click on that, it gives you some options of things you can do in that project. So, for example, one thing you can do is give it a highlight color. Now, by default, you're going to see that it will change the color for everyone. And so maybe if you're the manager or setting this up, you want to set kind of a global setting. That would be how you do that. But in other cases, you just want to do it yourself. See, what's nice is even if there's a global color, then you can say, I don't like that color. I'm going to do things my way. So in this case, I'm going to uncheck this, and I'm going to pick, let's pick this kind of greenish, bluish color there. Okay. So now whenever I'm working throughout the conference, I'm going to see this kind of teal color. Whenever I'm working throughout the program, Asana, I'm going to see this teal color, which gives me a nice little color coding. So maybe you have some related projects, in which case maybe you color code them all the same. So if they have to do with a similar client or a similar event or something like that, they have to do with marketing or something like that, you might want to color code them that way. So that's one thing you can do. When I go back in the settings here, You can also, another thing that you can do is you can duplicate or copy the project. Now we're going to talk about this more when we talk about templates, but this is where Asana gets so cool, is when you realize the power of a template. So to give you an example, when I first started using Asana, I did use it to plan large scale events where we would rent out some of the biggest hotels in Rochester, New York, and hold these events for hundreds and hundreds of college students. Now, in order to do this, it required hundreds of tasks. Literally, one project would end up with over 100 tasks, because when you think of everything that's involved in planning a huge conference, you've got registration stuff you have to deal with, dealing with contracts in the hotel, booking speakers. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds of tasks. Now, what's so cool is once you think through that process one time and kind of create this master template, the next time an event happens, you can copy it and you have a template. So that means all those hundreds of tasks that you've already thought through, you can recreate and assign them to all the right people in literally just about 2 clicks. So what normally might take hours and hours of thinking through and project management, you can do in about 30 seconds. So it's really, really powerful. The other things you can do from this setting here is you can archive a project. What that means is will disappear from the sidebar, but it's not gone from Asana. You can still search for it in the top search bar. And you, for example, maybe you think of, oh, we should use that old project we did as a starting point for a new project. So you could search for it again and unarchive it and maybe copy it. So normally when you want something to disappear or a project is completed, you're going to archive it. So it disappears from the sidebar, but you can still find it and all the tasks that were within it. Okay. But in some cases, you do want to truly delete a project. Maybe you started it and you realize, no, we want to organize this a different way, or we're totally canceling this project. We don't want any record of it. In that case, you could choose to delete it. But normally, you're going to archive it. The other thing you can do with the project is you can favorite it or star it. So maybe I'm one of the people who mainly is going to be planning this conference. That's my job. I'm an event planner. So even though I have a lot of projects here on the sidebar, I want to be able to find this one really quickly. What you can do is go up to the top here, and there's a little star next to the event. And then when you click that star, all the way at the top of your navigation, you can see down here, there it is. It's been starred. So in other words, that by favoriting that project, I pin it to the top left of my navigation. So it's always really easy for me to find it anytime I want to. And by the way, if this top bar looks a little different for you, maybe it looks like this. There's kind of 2 different ways you can collapse it or expand it. So if it looks like this, it's the same thing, or maybe it looks like this for you. But if you want a little more screen real estate, you can keep that collapsed. So the next area of projects I want to cover is what's called the Progress tab. If you look up at the very top, I've got List, Conversations, Calendar, and then I have Progress. I want you to go ahead and even in your own Asana, if you have a separate laptop that you can watch or play with while you're watching this, go ahead and visit that Progress tab. Now, because I created this project, I am what's called the project owner. But if there's no project owner, it's going to look like that. And it says Add Project Owner. Now, for a project owner, I don't want you to necessarily think about in your organization who's in charge of that project. For the purposes of Asana, I want you to consider the project owner who is responsible for reporting on that project. So it may be the same person, it may not be, but whoever is responsible for reporting and giving status updates on projects, that's who you would put here. So I'm going to go ahead and add myself back. And then if this is a project that has a specific due date, you can go ahead and add it. Now, this particular, because I'm pretending this is an event, it would have a due date, right? The event has to happen at some point. So I'm going to change this to 2018 and pick a date here. Okay, so now I've got my due date. But some projects are not going to have due dates. Your project might be something like marketing meeting, in which case, it's just a recurring meeting. It's not going to have an end date, in which case, you could just leave that field blank. Now you're going to see an update status. And so the only person who's going to be expected to update the status is the project owner. And so when I click on this, I can give some kind of update for what's happening in the planning of this event. So I might say something like, we're on track. We still need to book 3 more speakers. Okay. And then there's these different color coding options. And what these are is it's, green, yellow, red. It's giving basically a sign to other people how things are going. So if things are good, you can go ahead and click green. Maybe you're concerned, you could click yellow. And if things are off track, you're very concerned, then you would click the red. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click set status. And you're going to see here that now my latest status update shows right there. And if I clicked on the conference directly, or someone else clicked on this conference, I'm also seeing my latest status update over here on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to go back to the progress tab. And underneath this, we're going to see it says 0 people will be notified. Well, normally I want someone to find out. If I'm taking the time to give a status update, someone should be notified, right? The people that will be notified are people who are project members. Project members. Now, to be a project member, that's going to be up at the top right. You can add more project members. So a project member is someone that you want to get status updates. And so you may be a member of a lot of different projects. Perhaps if you're a manager and you are expected to kind of know what's going on with all the different projects, then you would definitely want to be a project member for all those projects. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start typing in another person here. Now, one thing I want you to see here is by default, there's this checkbox that says notify them when tasks are added to this project. I have no idea why Asana has this checked by default. I would always uncheck it. Unless you are a project manager who wants to know everything that's happening within a specific project, do these people a favor when you add them and uncheck it. Otherwise, they're going to get a lot more notifications. Every time someone adds a task to a project, they're going to get a notification, which is really, it's overkill. It's not necessary. So if you see that checked, uncheck it and help the people out. I'm going to go ahead and click add member. And now Jane has also become a project member of this project. And you can now see her face up in the top right corner there. So Jane is in. Now, when I go back here, look what it says. It says Jane Doe will be notified. So every status update I give from now on, she's going to be notified because I added her as a project member. So you definitely want to make sure that anyone that you expect to get these kind of high-level status updates, you want to make sure that they are project members or anyone who wants to be in the loop on that project. The final part of this tab I want to show you is down at the bottom where it says progress. You're going to see here there's this blue line and a green line. Now the green line is what's been completed. So right now it's at 0. And the blue line is going to be what's remaining. And so what will happen is as time goes on, that green line should hopefully meet that blue line, which means you have completed all the tasks that are remaining, right? So that's kind of what this is. It gives you kind of a high level picture of, okay, here's my due date way over here. This is how much time I have. Do I still have a lot of tasks outstanding, or does it look like I'm making progress? So it just kind of gives you that little picture here. Now, why is all of this important? This is important if your organization works, and it would be helpful for managers to get a high-level picture of what's happening in a lot of different projects. And the way that they're going to do that, and we'll cover it in the manager section, is with what's called dashboards. The managers are going to be able to click on the dashboard setting up at the top, and now you can see here different projects that they're tracking. And so I could add that one I just added here. I'm going to search and just start typing 2018. I click on it and I add to my dashboard, and there it is. And so you can imagine if they had 15 or 20 or 30 projects that they were overseeing, it could be really powerful to see, these are all my red ones. These are the ones that there's some concern about. These are the ones that are on track. So it's definitely a cool feature. We're going to cover it in more detail in a manager lesson lesson on dashboards, but for now, that's why this is important, is because it makes it so people can use this project in their dashboard. And again, all that happens from the progress tab. So now it's time for you to practice. On your own computer, I want you to create a project, and I want you to make a private project, one that's only just for you, so that you can stash some personal tasks in. Everyone should have a private project. So go through the steps we talked about, create a private project, and then if you want to play around with some of the settings, like starring it and favoriting it and pinning it to the top of your navigation bar, or maybe you want to change the color coding for it, just play around with the settings a little bit, and then when you're done, we can move on to the next lesson. For more tips like this, check out the Asana Masterclass. It's a complete guide to become an expert in Asana and to get you and any team members up to speed in less than one day.